Hello and welcome to our series on creating accessible course materials brought to you by the Office of Online Learning at Genesee Community College. In this video, you will learn how to add alternative text to images using Microsoft Word and PowerPoint. Let's start with a little information on what alternative text is and why you should add it to images in your documents. Alternative text, or alt text, is text attached to an image that can be used to describe the image when it cannot be seen. Most commonly, this is used by people with visual impairments as a way to better understand the content of images in a document. For entirely blind learners, the alternative text is the only information they have about an image in your document. When using a screen reader, learners will be notified when there is an image, and the screen reader software will read the alternative text title and description to the learner. Alternative text may also be displayed on the screen when an image does not load properly due to slow internet speeds or user settings that disable images. You should add alternative text to all pictures, clip art, graphs, diagrams, maps, smart art, charts, and any other visual item in your documents that you plan to distribute electronically. This includes PowerPoints, Word documents, rich text documents, and anything you plan to convert to PDF. Now let's go through the steps of adding alternative text to an image. We will show you how to do this first in Word, then in PowerPoint. The actions are the same in both programs. Starting here with this image in Microsoft Word, right-click on the image and select Format Picture. Depending on the type of graphic, this option may be different. For example, with Smart Art, you will need to instead click Format Object. Click Alt Text here at the bottom. In the title field, type a short phrase to indicate what the image is. You can write something similar to what you would use if providing a caption for the image. In this case, it is our logo, so I will use Online Learning at SUNY GCC logo for the title. In the description field, type a longer explanation that describes the content and function of the image. The length and detail of this explanation will vary by the complexity of the image. I will cover some tips for writing these descriptions later in this video. For this, I will use Logo for the Online Learning Office at SUNY Genesee Community College for the description. When finished, click Close. Now let's go over to PowerPoint where I will cover the steps for adding alternative text to different types of visual content while also providing some tips for writing better descriptions. I'm going to start with the picture here. So again, we will right-click on the image and select Format Picture. Click Alt Text here at the bottom and complete the fields. To help you decide what to write for a description, ask yourself, what would you say to a student if you needed to explain this image over the phone? Think about what a learner really needs to know about the image. For example, with this image of a large tree, do students need to know the image is a 100-foot tall pine tree? Or do they need to know the image is a tree with many branches broken, an example of environmental wear on forests? You may not need to describe every element, but make sure to describe everything you expect students to learn from the image. In my case, I need students to know this is a tree that looks larger in the foreground with trees that look smaller behind it, showing contrast in size based on perspective of the viewer. That's what I'll use for a description. I'll use contrast in tree sizes based on perspective for the title. When writing descriptions, you want to be concise, but provide enough detail so the alternative text can function as a replacement for the image. You can skip using phrases such as image of, because students will already be alerted to the fact that the alternative text is tied to an image. Also, if you already have text in your document or slide which describes the image, do not repeat this in the alternative text. For complex images such as labeled diagrams, graphs, and maps, you may need to describe all significant data and labels within the image. You may also need to describe how elements of the image are spaced or oriented on the screen. Let's use this chart for an example. To add the alternative text, I will right-click on the chart and click Format Chart Area. Then click Alt Text. For the title, I might use something such as Bar Graph of Used Books in Stock, since this describes what it is. For the description, I will need to be more detailed to describe data and visual elements such as the axis spacing. Let's use a bar graph showing the number of used books in stock in 4 bookstores on May 29, 2015. The values on the x-axis represent 4 bookstores in the area. The y-axis values are the number of used books in stock and range from 0 to 600. Going from left to right, Bob's Books has about 300 used books in stock, the Textbook Emporium has about 500, Read It has approximately 230, and the Main Street Bookstore has a little over 550. I feel that describes what I want the students to learn from the image here. So those are the basic steps for adding alternative text to your text documents and PowerPoint slide decks. For troubleshooting and additional tips, refer to the text version of this tutorial linked in the video description below. If you have any questions, please contact us by email at gcconline@genesee.edu, by phone at 585-345-6969, or stop in our office on the Batavia campus in room T148. And check out our other tutorials for more information on making accessible course materials.